Okay, yeah. So Parasite episode. I don't know. This movie is already funny and too important for me to think of like a dumb joke to make about it. So I don't know. I was just gonna like yell respect and then just intro the show or something.
Let's go for it. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about this movie yet. It's still. I saw this movie like 2 days ago, and normally I feel like 2 days is like that good amount of time for me to digest a movie, but I feel like there's a lot to this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. This was my third time, maybe my fourth time watching it, third or fourth. And I feel like I found new things and have a greater appreciation than the last time I watched it.
Yeah.
I feel like this is one that could do well with multiple watches.
Yeah.
It
really
rewards
does.
it. And if you guys are curious, I do have the black and white version on Blu-ray. So
Black and white version.
yeah, with the it's paired in the Criterion edition. I gotta fix my glasses. And you
Gotta get new glasses.
It's two. Sorry, I gotta push my glasses way up on the bridge of my nose. In the Criterion Collection edition.
Small
There's two Blu-rays in it. One of them has the black and white version that was briefly in theaters in 2019. I think.
Oh, interesting. Did you watch it?
I haven't watched it in black and white yet. It was shot in color, so it's kind of
Yeah,
like
why is there black and
whatever.
white?
So it could go back into theaters and people got excited about it.
That's kind of dumb.
I think right before it played at Cannes that year, whichever. I'll edit out whichever version's wrong in French. Yeah, whatever.
I don't have a problem with black and white movies, but it needs to be purposeful. You can't just put it back out there in black and white just because.
Yeah.
Right?
I think there is a good
Let's
reason.
make it sepia tone. Okay.
I mean the movie. Okay, well, if we wanted to dig into it, the movie's all about contrasts, and there you go, black and white.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
kind of lame. That's weak.
That's just me saying that. It's not
Yeah.
director Bong, but whatever.
Mm.
Respect.
That's how we start.
We're in.
We're either going to start that way or something else, as you guys.
All right, I'll save this podcast. This is Cory, and hello.
Thanks, Cory. As you guys know, I don't know how to start the podcast yet, so it's either going to be something like that or welcome to Late to the Movies. My name is Ben Holt, and this is a podcast where my friends and I get to fill in our movie blind spots. Every week, we pick a movie that either I or a guest hasn't seen before, but really should have by now. This week, the movie is 2019's Parasite, kicking off Oscar Best Picture winner month. That's the snappiest way I can phrase that,
you
right?
Put like a clap button, so you just hear clap.
Oh man, I'll add in better claps that
you
are
can
on
do
here
that,
later.
you can do that.
And yeah, so this whole month we're going to be talking about Best Picture winners to celebrate I think this year's the 94th Oscars or the 93rd.
I just had it
Oscars?
up. Hold on.
Whatever. It's either one.
94th.
Yeah. So this whole month we'll be talking about Best Picture winners and in honor, I guess, of the 94th Oscars happening March 27th. And we're all coming down, of course, from over this last weekend seeing the new Batman movie, which came out 3 days ago as this episode.
There's a new Batman
premieres.
movie?
Yep.
Oh.
Comes
Robert
out-
Pattinson.
Is it
Yeah.
good?
Yeah, Bobby Pat. I don't know. It comes out March 4th.
Oh, I thought you said it just came out this weekend.
Well, yeah, as we're talking
Oh,
into
right,
listeners'
we're in the
ears.
future.
We're in the future.
Oh,
So this whole month long, we're going to be talking about former Best Picture winners, and I'm happy that we're starting with one recent one that maybe has signaled a seismic shift in the Academy Awards. Maybe not. It's going to take a while to figure that out. Early returns are promising. Before we get into Parasite, let me introduce the guests left to right across your podcast dial. We got Greg,
hey.
Ray,
Hi.
Cory.
Hey.
All former guests. You've all been on at least a bunch of times. I think I stopped counting after anyone had been on more than like 4 or 5 times.
You should know
so-
us now.
Yeah, whatever. You know these guys. They're great.
I want like an anniversary episode when we have like our 10th.
yeah, maybe we should figure out like, when you're in the 10 timers club or something.
Do I get
Sure.
a
Get stars?
shirt?
I think,
Yeah.
although I think a lot of guests are going to hit that number like around the same time. So we'll see. Yeah.
When you get your first sponsor, I want a shirt.
I just, oh my, this podcast is costing me so much money. It's okay.
I meant to buy
Gonna
a
have to
shirt,
move
but
into a
I keep
semi-basement.
forgetting.
I kind of want a shirt.
The plugs are for the end of the episode.
Okay.
So you
Don't
guys,
forget to like and subscribe.
it's for the end of the episode.
This is the end of the episode.
No, you gotta throw it in the
Listens all the
middle.
way to the end.
It actually works. I always click like after they say it. So I'm like, oh, you know what? Thank you for the content. Here's a like.
So, what have you guys been watching? Anything fun? Before we get into talking Parasite too deep, I'm curious if you've watched anything cool in the last, I guess, week since I've talked to you. A couple weeks since I've talked to you.
Yeah, we started watching our Oscar movies. So we watched our first one. We watched Coda. It was good stuff.
Ironically, starting with Coda.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Very
Yeah.
ironic, I guess.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one a lot.
Hmm.
I have a lot of opinions on it.
Cool. I haven't watched it yet.
I know. I'm excited for other people to watch it, but it was a very pleasant watch.
I had high hopes for it. It was very pleasant. I don't know if it met what I had hoped for, though.
Okay.
It kind of felt Oscar-y to me, though. Like, I feel like I've seen other movies in other years that have had the same vibe.
Yeah, I'm wondering
It was
if
kinda
maybe
casual.
I missed something or I'm a little too stupid. But yeah, I felt like it was a little too casual. There was some stuff about it that felt a little too like tropey, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word for it. But there were just a few things that I was like, I don't know about this. But overall, it was definitely good and an enjoyable watch.
Cool. Cory, have you seen anything fun recently?
Yeah, I was actually along the lines of foreign things.
Yeah.
I was watching All of Us Are Dead, that Korean zombie Netflix show.
Oh, cool. I don't know like anything about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's like I feel like I keep seeing it like pop up and people keep asking like randomly. Like I was playing Call of Duty with some people and Jacob was like, "Did anybody see that that All of Us Are Dead show?" And I was like, "Yeah, actually, I was just watching that." I think it's pretty good. It's got a good mix of like humor and like the actual like action zombie portion.
Nice.
Pretty good.
That's dope. Yeah, I watched a few things this last week since the last time we've recorded. It's been kind of all over the place. So we, as we're recording this, the most recent rom-com for rom-com month, the last month now that I watched was Music and Lyrics. I followed that up with Jackass #2, the documentary about the cast album recording from the musical company. And I also watched Bong Joon Ho's 2003 masterpiece, Memories of Murder, in prep for this episode about Parasite.
I have to see
So
that.
all over the fucking place.
Wow.
Yeah, Memories of Murder is incredible. We'll talk more about it once we switch over to talking about Bong and
Write that down.
his movies. But that movie's awesome, and it's on Hulu. Memories of Murder. It's basically almost always compared to Zodiac by film bro-y types of guys like me. But it came out a few years before Zodiac, but it's pretty similar. It's about these small town real life murders that happened, I think, between the 1986 and 1991 or something like that, out in the boondocks in South Korea. The movie came out in 2003. In 2019, IRL, someone can confess to all the murders. So it adds like an interesting dimension because at the time the movie was made, it was an unsolved cold case. So
I think I've seen this.
it's so good.
I just saw some of the images and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it kicks ass. Watching it in sort of concert with watching Parasite within a couple days of each other. They came out 16 years apart, but Parasite, obviously, and I guess we've all said what we watched, so we can switch shortly, but how it feels to be so specifically made for this time. Unfortunately, Memories of Murder feels somewhat similarly because it's about cops who are pretty bad at their job in an authoritative state. So, saw some reflections there. They just keep grabbing random guys and beating the hell out of them until they confess to the murders and then like take a bunch of pictures of themselves solving it.
Nice.
Yep. It's good shit.
I think I've seen this.
It's super good. Anyway, whatever. Greg and Ray, you guys are the newbies to Parasite, so who wants to give me a 1-minute plot summary?
Me? Okay. Oh, God. Okay, I can do this one. This is a tough one, though.
Yeah, this one's a little tougher than the rom-com month ones.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
It's a little heavier.
You can start whenever you're ready.
Okay, so this movie starts with a family. I believe it's the Kim family. They are living in a semi-basement, really shitty apartment. It starts kind of going over the fact that their cell phones are off, their internet's gone, they barely have food, if any. They're all trying to fold pizza boxes to like make ends meet. And it quickly moves into one of them getting a job for a very rich family and it changing
30
into
seconds.
morphing into them becoming a bunch of like scam artists almost, getting
All right, you're about 30 minutes in.
everyone jobs. This
15 seconds.
Thanks. I can't. You
I can
threw
do a
me
really
off,
bad
guys.
one if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, okay. This family's really poor and they need money. They found a way to get money. They went there. Rich people were being big assholes to the poor people, relating to real life. And then shit gets crazy. There's a secret basement. People are beating the shit out of each other. People die. The end.
All right, so you guys combined for about 1 minute and 8 seconds, so I'll say that's fair.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good stair
I
movie.
have no idea what
Lots
the
of staircases.
movie is about from my description, though.
Good stair movie. One of the best stair movies of all time, I'd say.
Yeah.
A-R-E or A-I-R?
AIR.
Okay.
Staircase movies.
Lots of
Staircase.
stairs.
Gotcha.
Mm.
Okay.
People are constantly going up or down staircases.
What about The Shining?
Good staircase
Stairs in
movie.
there.
Good
Yeah.
staircase. One staircase in particular, quite good, and then one perhaps traveling staircase that you can't tell what floor it's on. Shining's good for that.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Um,
now I want to think about other stair movies.
let's do it. That'll be the game today, so everyone can just think about that in the background.
Oh, but I already
whenever you're
gave
not
one
talking.
away.
Well, you've lost the game.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
nice job.
Way to go.
Okay.
So this movie is a heck of a one to take in on a first watch. So let's do a little background first. It's a first time watch for Greg and Ray. This movie was one of my favorite theater experiences of my entire life.
I bet this would have been really good in theaters.
Oh, it was so good. So I went, not the first night it opened in Boston, which was at the Coolidge, but the first night it opened at the AMC on Boston Common. It was in their biggest theater and it was completely sold out. And it was electric. It was insane. And specifically, I remember specifically the moment that was like, okay, I have no idea what's going on. And the whole room felt like it was floating and you could just feel like everyone gasp and the air gets sucked out of the room. When, first, how tense it was when the old housekeeper shows up while they're partying and she just looks insane in the rain. And then when she goes downstairs and then she keeps going downstairs and then there's more stairs and she keeps going down those stairs and the music's just ratcheting up and she yells honey in like a really crazy voice. That is probably my single favorite movie theater moment that I've ever had because people just lost their shit. It was crazy. And then you have a different perspective too.
I also saw it in theaters. When I was in South Korea when the movie came out. And then it started like blowing up and everybody like kept asking me, did you see this? Did you see Kisachung? Did you see this? And I was like, no. And then my friend was like, do you want to go watch it with me? And I was like, yeah, I'll go. But by the way, in South Korea, there's no subtitles in English.
Yeah.
Go figure. It's almost like they speak the language. So I went with my intermediate level of Korean language and I still really liked the movie, but I felt like I missed a lot of like little things. Because I didn't know like a lot of like complex terminology, like when they
This is a pretty complex movie.
Yeah, well, yeah, like it's just like the vocabulary I didn't understand, but they did a good job at like physically representing some things, and I can like kind of use context clues. But like specific things, like when they got that rock, like all I knew is they were talking about something with like money in the rock, and then the mom was like, I wish it was food or something.
Yep.
But I didn't like know it was supposed to like the rock symbolizes, like someone could be wealthy in the future or something like that. Like I had no idea. I was just like, oh yeah, it's a rock, and they're happy about the rock. Something with money, maybe they're gonna sell it.
They're happy about this rock.
It's a really good rock. I guess they could flip
Yeah, I was
that
like,
rock
"That's a
on
cool
the
Great rock.
I mean,
on the rock
Yeah,
market.
it looks like a nice rock, and they're really excited about this rock.
It's so metaphorical.
but yeah. So then when I watched it a second time, I watched it by myself a second time. It was like, oh shit, this movie's like, I already thought it was good, but I was like, this is good. And then I watched it with my family and I was just like, man, this is so good. And my parents were just like, yeah, it was all right. Like, but my parents aren't, especially my dad. He's not someone that's like, I don't like those thinking movies. He basically says, he's like,
thinking movies.
He's like, it's too like, I just want to watch it and like relax.
Yeah, this isn't very relaxing time.
It isn't, but I feel like you could watch this movie without really thinking into it, and I feel like you should have a good time still.
Yeah, he liked it.
Yeah,
but they just didn't think it was like they're like, I can't believe I don't know, like if I would give it an award, but.
You know, my mom liked it too, and same idea. She was just kind of like, yeah, I liked it. It's such an incredible movie. So yeah, on this side of the ocean, I guess it was such a huge thing. There's these little like pet causes that quote unquote film Twitter adopts, and this started at the Cannes Film Festival where people were like, "Oh man, this has to win the Palme d'Or, and it just has to," and that's the top prize you can get at that film festival. And then it did, and then it started winning every award, and then like going up to the Oscars, it was like, this can't really happen. And then it got nominated in so many things. So it just felt like this sort of gradual thing, even though Bong Joon Ho had already made Hollywood movies with like big name American stars and stuff. Curious, what was it like over there? Was it just like another movie coming out, or was it just like kind of an Avengers movie, or like on that scale?
Yeah, I think Avengers was a little bigger. When I was there, but I also was teaching children all the time, and they were super hype about Avengers. Like they all had like different superhero shirts and stuff. And for some reason, I noticed like in Korea that a lot of people really like superhero movies. Well, I guess it's similar to here, but yeah, when the movie was out, like I heard so many people talking about it, and like people were asking me like, "Oh, like how haven't you not seen this yet?" And I was like, it's kind of hard to watch movies in the theater, unless they're like action movies or some comedies.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty popular. Like it wasn't like at the level of when it, won awards and then like it blew up here. It was like a different vibe. I feel like it was just like a good movie, a really good movie that came out.
Yeah,
and people talked a lot about the meaning of the movie and like the problems with, because
that's good.
Yeah.
Seems like it's kind of made to start those conversations. So
yeah,
I'm sure he was happy that they did. First time watch for you guys. What is initial reactions?
I liked it a lot. I thought it was cool because even when I started watching it, the opener, it's pretty like Oscar-y, Oscar-y family dynamic, like a drama, the struggle of like, some working class family story that's been told a lot. So when it starts, I'm like, oh, okay, I like this kind of stuff and I'm into it. He gets, his job. I'm like, oh, yeah. And then as soon as he like does that shady thing, gets the sister the job, I'm like, huh, okay, now I'm a little more in. I'm like, this is getting interesting. And then she sets like that trap for the driver, and I'm like, okay, I'm in this now. I'm totally vibing with this. I'm like, this is. Yeah. I'm like, I was like sucked in at that
You're
point.
Vince McMahon falling off his chair.
Yeah, yes. At that point, I was like, whoa, okay. And then obviously, like that is like the minorest parts. It really just escalates from there. So at that point, I was already like wicked on this movie's level. I was like totally vibing with it, and then it just kind of keeps going. So yeah, I had a great time with this thing.
Yeah.
It was really cool. Really liked the themes. I feel like I don't know. I guess we'll get into the themes, but I feel like there was a lot to unpack, and it was a really fun ride. Very uncomfortable for a long period of time. I like movies that make you feel something. So and I feel like Oscar movies usually do a pretty good job with that. So we watched it, and I was like, man, this is the movie that we missed that year. Like,
I know, I can't believe that.
That's literally, I can't believe that either. But
I know.
Yeah,
I'm glad for tonight's purposes. But
racist.
Well, we missed it because when it came out, our daughter was an infant, so we were having trouble like really focusing on movies because we kept having to leave or get up or do something for her, and it was subtitled.
She didn't like subtitles yet.
No, not 6 months old.
She wasn't good at reading.
Yeah, I was like, I can't watch a subtitled movie.
Yeah, so we couldn't commit to a subtitled movie, so we missed that one.
Yeah.
Does this movie come in dub? I hope not.
I hope not. I don't think so. I mean, the performances are such a big part of it.
Yeah.
It didn't at the time anyway, so.
Yeah, I can't imagine. But yeah, I was like wicked into this. I really like it's a movie you have to think about. I also like movies that surprise me. And obviously, I did not expect this movie to go the way it did.
It was a wild ride.
It was a wild ride. And I like movies that are just like different. And, it's cool to have a movie where I'm like, I don't even know who I'm rooting for. Like, I like who is my like protagonist? Like, what outcome do I want to see in the end of this movie? Because there's none that at any point that I see like there's going to be a good outcome anywhere that I'm like rooting for. So like,
it's kind of funny because, I think we were going to talk about this later, but this was the same year as Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
I feel like, that kind of had a really crazy kind of ending. This had kind of a really crazy kind of ending. It's weird that they both came out the same year.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's fair.
I didn't realize that there was
They
two
kind of
movies
are
that were on
both-
this level there.
Yeah.
they both have a very like escalated ending.
They both
for sure.
feel the same.
I think this one is building to that boiling point
It
a little
does
more
build to it,
obviously.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
than, Once
you
Upon
knew
a
this
Time.
was. I could.
Because there's a lot of violence and seemingly a murder before the party scene.
Right.
Yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood felt like that because it fucking came out of nowhere. It was just like
Yes, and then
bam.
The hyper violence was
The
you
hyper
know,
violence, yeah.
To me, the biggest like whoa thing was when she opened up the fucking wall and there was a staircase. That was just like, wait a minute, what am I watching right now?
Yeah.
What is happening? Am I really misunderstanding this movie right now?
Yeah,
or
like, oh, this isn't what I thought
did they
it was.
allude
That
to
was,
this?
as I said, probably my favorite theater going moment is that, and your brain kind of is doing the galaxy brain explosion thing, and you're like, whoa, this is a lot more than I thought it was.
Yes.
This is gonna do a whole different
I
thing.
can't process this. I
Yeah.
can't process this.
That whole scene is pitched so well with like for no reason that woman just being like a horror movie character.
Yeah.
She's going
And the fact when they walk down the stairs and she's just like completely horizontal, like trying to push that, I was like, what on earth
Yes.
is happening here?
and right before she goes down, she does like the slow turn after she asks like, "What are you getting down there?" And she turns and goes, "You want to come with me?"
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
no, you're good. You go
all of
do
a
that."
sudden it was a very different movie.
Yeah. Oh, that scene was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the rest of the family members really should have left while she was down in that basement first, though.
Yeah, with the murderer.
I mean, yeah, I guess they thought she said, "Oh, I just need to grab something real quick." They probably figured she was going to leave, but
Yeah.
in hindsight, being 2020, I mean, yeah, that was definitely the moment for me. There's a ton of those moments.
I feel like that was the biggest one for me.
That was definitely the biggest one for me. But I want to
Biggest what moment?
kind of like, whoa,
Holy shit! Like
Holy
the
shit
ending was a holy shit moment, but they already did me dirty with the staircase and like that
Yeah.
whole thing that I was
Mhm.
like, all right, anything could happen now.
Honestly,
Yes.
even
anything's in play.
Yeah.
the whole first scene, honestly, in this movie was like one of those moments for me. Just watching this family live, and I was like, holy shit! Like this,
Yeah, it's
like them.
efficiency and characterization with like, don't close the windows. We'll
Don't
get
close
free
the window.
fumigation.
That like, and I know it was like supposed to be like it kind of funny, and it was, but it was mostly just horrible. Like I'm like,
Yes.
oh my god,
Oh,
this
no,
is awful.
It's awful. And Song Kang Ho playing, you said Gitek is the father's name?
Keytech? Yeah. I think
Yeah.
Keytech.
And him just pushing through it and keeping folding the boxes, even though he's like literally breathing in poison.
Yes.
You're like, oh, okay, I get this. That whole semi basement set is amazing with the toilet that you can't sit on top of that's too close to the ceiling.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just
And there's totally a lot of stuff
You know.
like that in Korea where it's like, when it's funny because my family came to visit me,
Mhm.
and we're walking around, and my dad was like appalled by a lot of the construction jobs, and like because things need to happen fast in Korea. Like
Yeah.
I need this done now, or like faster. They always say, and my dad was walking around and he's looking like, Dad, what are you doing? Like we got to go this way. He's like, they're just looking at this construction stuff. They did a shit job. And I laughed, but you'll like, just because like everything advanced so quickly, like
Yeah.
from being like a literal looking almost like I don't want to say wasteland, but just not the state where it was right now to being like one of the most advanced countries
Yeah.
in the world. It's just like, yeah, of course, like things aren't going to be built in the most efficient way.
No,
you know?
and a lot of people have to be ground up for that kind of growth to happen. That's
Yeah.
not exclusive to Korea, that problem.
Yep.
As response to this movie has borne out. Yeah. So I have a few things we have so many directions we can go, and I'm afraid
I'm like,
yeah,
I have
there's so many things
a
that
lot of stuff to say too.
but,
So just like wherever.
I want to pay some special attention because, as you mentioned before we started recording, that this would be one that we probably do want to talk about the plot a little more because there's so many interesting things that happen. One of the sequences that I absolutely love is this like little, this just like polished gem of a sequence where they're describing the last phase of their plan, basically to get the housekeeper out. And you don't realize, like, they start describing like, oh, here's what we're going to do. And then it's showing it happen. You're like, oh no, this is happening. It's already happening. And you're just along for the ride. And the music in there gets a lot more orchestral and just becomes this symphony of like music and imagery. And it's so funny. And Song Kang-ho's look at the end when he finds like the tissue and he puts the hot sauce on it. Then he turns around and he like gives her the look holding it up.
That's hilarious.
That is so funny. That whole sequence is amazing. Every step of the plan. And
so fucked up.
So fucked up, but just like so creative. And the son and the dad rehearsing with
what does he tell him? He's like, no, you're up.
You got to bring it down.
I love that they showed them the
Here, you're
preparation for it, like cutting
Yeah.
back and forth and like showing the
Yes,
results.
There's a really good
so
scene.
cool.
Running lines on it.
I really did not like the housekeeper like walking away afterwards. It was like so just sad. Like
Yeah,
her like
sure.
packing her bags and like they show her like just walking
She has
off.
no idea why.
No idea why. Clueless.
Clueless, yeah.
Oh,
She'd been there for so long, and yeah, it's not good. And I mean, we keep kind of like dipping a toe into talking about themes and then being like, oh no, not yet.
yeah.
But the Kim's family lack of class solidarity with her
Mhm.
is what ultimately fucks everything up.
Yeah.
So yeah, unionize, I guess.
Unionize. There you go.
So if all the housekeepers of Seoul united, then this kind of thing would never happen.
Think about also what's going through that housekeeper's mind as she's leaving. Like, not only has she been there forever,
Yeah.
she knows her like husband's in the basement. She
Yeah.
also has no idea why she got fired. Like, doesn't know what's going on. I feel like there was another thing layered on that I was thinking of.
Also,
but-
was she there full time?
I feel like she lived there.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
yeah,
That's what I
yeah.
mean.
She was like a living.
So not only
nanny.
did she lose her job,
Oh,
she
didn't
lost
even
her
have
home.
a house.
Yeah.
Where is
It
she
seems like
going,
for those
right?
3 days, it seems like she just kind of sort of walked around.
Yeah, she was probably going crazy, thinking like, "How did I mess up? What did I do wrong? I
Did
don't
she ever
understand
say
this."
why she was all beat up?
It was an allergic reaction, right? She never got it treated.
Was that it? She had like a
I
busted
think
lip.
so.
No, that was from when she fell. When she was vertical, she smashed her face on the bench.
No, when
when
she's in the
when she
camera,
comes
she has
back,
like
she already
it looks like
has
she
a
got
messed
like
up
punched
face.
in the lip.
Oh,
Was
I
it
thought
the
it was
loan
just-
sharks?
I thought it was
I
just an
noticed that.
allergic reaction.
Oh,
Her lip was like bloody.
yeah, it looked like someone punched her in the face.
Yeah, maybe.
I didn't even notice.
I figured she just had a cracked lip. So her face swelled up.
That'd be a pretty bad.
We're gonna have to
I don't
rewatch it now
know.
and find out.
That's that. That's what I think you can pick up on the next time. Because I mean, her husband asks her, and she says, "Don't worry about it." So
She said like I'll tell you later.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought-
later never comes.
It's because she's like all fucked up when she gets to the husband because she fucking
She was
smashed
Well,
her
already-
face.
she
by
was
then,
already-
yeah, but she was already messed up
When she
Yeah.
when she comes up to the camera, she's all fucked up.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why I was like, wow, I would not open the door for this lady.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get into themes. So Bong Joon Ho said that he tried to express a sentiment specific to Korean culture, but all the responses from different audiences were pretty much the same. Essentially, we all live in the same country called capitalism.
Yep,
Yeah.
I have notes on this too.
Ugh.
Yeah.
One thing
Yep.
we really liked because we're of where we live, I think.
Poor people smell like the subway. So
No,
No.
we like the staircases that the rich people live way up on the top of a hill,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
and the poor people all live down bottom because
That's where we live.
that's how we have it set up here.
Uh-huh.
that is Fall River.
That's
Wait,
how Fall River
is
set
that
up.
really how it works?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
the-
mansions are at the top.
The
of
Highlands
hill.
are up here. It's because we're really old. It's the old like
That's how like it
Oh, you're
it was in
right.
the old
Yeah,
days.
that was the
England
old
is like
school
that.
like
building
shit
style.
shit rolls downhill.
Yeah,
So the state house is on top of Beacon Hill.
Yeah.
You know?
Huh.
that's like an old school
I
like,
never-
building style.
I never
is
knew that was the thing.
The rich people
but
built
it
their hill,
totally
their
makes
house on the
sense.
top of the hill. Poor people went down the bottom.
We're like middle class, so we actually live in the middle of the hill right
We're
now.
in the middle of the hill, so we are firmly middle class here in this household.
We suspend our city hall above the highway. That's how rich people do it.
Yeah.
So that's a
yeah,
Fall
so
River
we-
specific joke. Sorry.
We
Yeah.
really like that. Ray
Yeah,
pointed
that's-
out
I
too,
hadn't even
like
thought of that. That's a
Shout
very
out
good.
Ray.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ray really liked to.
I really liked that.
pointed out not only that they have that structure, but you get to the bottom of the hill and then they're in the semi basement.
Yes.
And then they're below the bottom of the hill.
So you hit the bottom of the hill and then they were like, "Well, we can dig a hole, get
That's
you guys
why-
a little lower."
I was kind of laughing about the toilet too because like that's I don't know.
It was clearly like not meant to be an apartment, but they just turned it
Yeah.
into an
Yeah.
apartment.
Well, like in a
Fall River
basement,
thing.
you need to have if you have a toilet in the basement, like
You got to raise it up.
you got to raise
You're
it up.
right.
So they had to raise it
Mhm.
up so high
Because they were so far
so
under.
low into the basement that they could
That
barely.
you
sit on
physically
the-
couldn't really sit on top.
Yeah.
It's like a gravity thing.
But yeah, so that was something I felt like we like connected with a lot
know,
just
yeah.
because of the area we're from. It's kind of
Yeah.
always been
That's
like
how
that.
it is.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
the poor
New-
people
New
live at the
England is
bottom, and the
like
rich
that.
people live at the top,
Yeah.
metaphorically and physically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's obviously a good place to go.
And man, those rich people live far up top, as you could
Mhm.
see in that scene when it's raining, and they're just like going
How-
downstairs
yes,
and
how
downstairs.
long it
and
takes them to get down,
just
and they
stairs.
just keep going down, and ending up in the flood of sewage.
I will say, so this movie came out a while ago, obviously, and I've avoided spoilers this whole time.
Uh-huh.
A few days before we went to go watch this movie, I saw somebody posted like an image from this movie on Facebook, and I saw it, and it was of their apartment being flooded.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, so I knew it was going to happen. It was of the apartment being flooded, and Madam saying like, "Oh, the sky's so blue because of all the rain yesterday." So I was
Yep.
like, "Oh," so I'm like, "I know it's going to happen at some point."
Yes.
At least it wasn't like the
It
dude
wasn't.
being
I
stabbed.
didn't know
I
about the
was like,
basement.
oh, that
thank
would have
God,
been terrible.
so,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the most direct things you can see, like what's happening to the poor neighborhood at the same time that the rich people are like fooling around on the couch, and their son thinks it's like a fun thing that it's raining so much, and he's gonna go
Yeah.
sleep in a tent outside.
Mhm.
Man, it's so good.
We
We're
felt like that
good.
was the real like turning point in the movie. Was
Yeah, that
I
rain.
do feel
man.
like prior to that, the rich family didn't seem that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like their treatment of the people weren't like it wasn't
The
as
volume
obvious.
got turned way up
It
after
went
that point.
way
Okay,
up
yeah.
after
Like they were
that.
shitty, but they weren't.
I think
it
it's
wasn't like
there.
wow.
They're
Yes.
garden variety.
It's
like,
definitely there, but it
elitist.
was like
It-
I don't
yes,
know.
it was guard. It was like
yeah, and Mr. Kim kept saying like, "Hey, these people are nice,"
Yeah.
and it turns out no, they were not at all.
He's already talked about like not stepping over the line a few times at that point too, which
Mhm.
is just obviously very shitty. But
yeah, it seemed more like garden variety. Like these people just don't understand the struggles other people face, and then it
they do not.
past the rain. You're like, okay, well, no, it's not just that they don't understand. It's we're way past that. We're like, because I feel like that's when they really start showing you the contrasts of like
Mhm.
what's like really going on here.
So what do you think the mom does all day? Because she's not doing any like child raising.
She's
She
just
doesn't
a
do any
rich
housework.
housewife.
Yeah, she
Yeah, just-
shops.
She goes around, she shops, she buys wine, she goes to the
Yeah.
grocery store.
She has a lot of friends,
Being
so
rich.
Yeah, it just sort of hangs out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's not specific to her. That's what rich ladies do all over the world. They just
Yeah.
hang out and drink wine, I guess.
Yeah. Have book clubs.
The dream.
Yeah. I don't think she's in a book club.
Probably not.
I don't even know if she could read.
Yeah. And we're already skipping around, but that's fine. But the initial parts of the plan, I just want to talk about how funny all the art therapy stuff is.
Oh yeah.
This is called the schizophrenia
I
zone.
have great notes on this.
It was
oh
funny.
no, it's in that one too.
At that point, I still felt bad though, because like you don't know much about the rich family yet,
Mhm.
other than like that they've described the wife as simple. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, they're
That's not a
taking
crime.
advantage- Yeah, and they're taking advantage of this poor lady. And then later on,
Which they are.
I was like, oh, okay, now I don't mind as much.
One of the biggest laughs of this movie for me is when she's showing the son some of the song's art, and he goes and he's like, "Oh, this is so so metaphorical." So this is a chimpanzee. She goes, "Oh, it's a self-portrait." He takes
There's
a beat,
that
goes,
pause.
"Of course."
Yes. Brilliant.
That's just funny. I don't have anything to say about it. It's funny
That's funny.
shit.
My note on the
Kinda
whole
like this portrait,
art
actually.
therapy thing is how I have one sentence. How the fuck did she calm that kid down? He came out like she just beat the shit out of him. And he like bowed and everything. I'm really
They never
curious.
go into it if she's just really good with kids or if she like fucking threatened this kid. I'm assuming she's just good with kids.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
she was just like, "Hey,
She
if you
has
don't do
like
this,
a.
I will kill you."
She's pretty stern.
I was gonna say she has like a very abrasive
Yeah.
personality, and I feel like kids kind of respond to that.
Yeah.
you
This
know?
kid also like they paint him as like he's out of control or not a good kid, but he's also probably not parented at all.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I don't know.
you never see like because the dad's never home really, and you never really see the mother parent. So like he's probably just maybe it didn't take much. You know what I mean?
Based on my experience of teaching very rich kids, they're like basically all always at different like academies or school, and like their parents aren't like around that. It's kind of sad, but their parents aren't around that much, and like even when they are, they just kind of like give them what they want, and they're like pretty misbehaved.
I'd say in DeSong's case, it's not like he doesn't break anything.
Yeah, he's
right?
not being.
He's
He's
just a bit hyper.
just weird.
He's
you
just
know?
he's
a
just
kid.
really
He's literally
energetic.
just a kid.
Yes, he's a normal whatever 8-year-old boy or however he is.
Pretty
right?
much, yeah.
Living in a house that's not super child friendly, you know?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, there's a man living in the basement.
Not child friendly. Yeah, and he causes them to have seizures sometimes.
Mm.
So yeah, not.
Do you think
not
it was actually a
childproof at all.
seizure? I don't think it was actually a seizure.
I guess he's not really shaking. He does pass out though.
I think he just passed out.
Yeah.
My scene that I liked, I think, is when they're the husband and wife are talking about the driver having sex in the car, and the husband's like, but why on my seat?
Why not on his seat?
Yeah. like as if
The
like
steering wheel there.
yeah.
I was like, yeah, he's got a point.
Yeah. If it wasn't on my seat, it would not have be a big deal.
That was pretty
It's very funny.
He doesn't know it was on the seat. Actually, if you think about it, all he did was find underwear. They
But
could
they
have
were in
just
the-
thrown
they
him.
were
They were in the
back,
back.
though.
So
Yeah, but
he-
you could have just tossed him off. You know.
That's true.
Yeah.
They didn't really know anything. They just assumed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They
They
just-
knew
I
nothing.
mean,
Yeah.
they do that a lot. A
Yeah.
lot of assumptions.
They thought they could go with like a young kind of hip guy, but that's just not. It's not going to work for them. That they're even like shopping for specific body types in their chauffeur. It's
Yeah.
not a world I can relate to.
That, well,
No.
It's like,
this is
just get rid of them. They're all expendable, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
that's probably a good point to interject back to what you
Mhm.
said about like the contrast and capital, like what the director said about capitalism. Like it felt even more impactful to me because like being in Korea, it's very like I always fuck up this word, hierarchical.
I think that's right. I don't know. I'm gonna
hierarchical.
be honest.
There's a lot of like strict
Hierarchical.
hierarchical. Thank you.
There's a hierarchy.
Yeah.
yeah. There's a strict
There's a hierarchy.
strict social hierarchy
Yeah.
that is like it's way more than like here too. Like someone's rich, it's like, oh, like that person's like above me and whatever. But there, it's literally like you are treated and spoken to differently based on like a couple of different things. One is like social status, another one is age, and like that's just so deeply like rooted and ingrained. Seeing this movie like really kind of brought that to light. And like Koreans already know that's a thing. Like it's been, I don't know, like thousands of years since Korea was Korea. Don't quote me on that. I'm really bad at history. But that's like something that's like so hard for them to get rid of. Like think about how we're changing as Americans.
Mhm.
And it's how old's America? Not that old. Probably
years.
one, I don't know, 50th of what Korea has been. And think about how hard it is to change here. They have all that deep rooted hierarchy that has to be like broken. And then this film did a really good job at like just like in many ways bringing that to light and showing like the problems of Korea.
Yeah.
There's like a term that they call, it's called Hell Joseon, and it's like what they call Korea because of the like the separation of social classes and how big the gap is and how shitty it is for people.
Weird question.
I'm glad you pronounced that because I wasn't gonna be able to.
Oh, you heard about that?
In this
It's
movie,
from the Wikipedia article about Parasite.
I don't know if this is like a Korean thing or like a translation thing or just part of the characters. The rich husband and wife.
Mhm.
I don't know if they ever refer to each other as my husband or my wife. It's like when they're talking, the madam is always says like Da Song's father. And the dad says Da Song's mother rather than like my wife.
When you have a kid, people start referring to you as like that kid's parent.
Okay, so
I don't
that's
know
just like a
why.
thing.
That's just a thing.
Okay.
That's kind of accurate here too.
Okay.
So one thing I want to ask you about is, especially the wife slips English phrases in as sort of like accessorizing almost. Is that like kind of like a status thing?
Yeah, if you know English, like you at least typically you have the money to send like your kid or you went to some like fancy academy after school, or you went to a fancy school, or you studied abroad.
I noticed that like the they adopt like when they are like selling themselves to the family American names. Like I'm Kevin and he refers to Jessica.
Because it shows that they like probably studied abroad. Well, they literally said they went to school in America, and that's like, wow.
Okay, that's kind of what I figured was like, oh, it's like a status kind of thing, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, that's really interesting. The translation says Oxford, but it's not actually Oxford, right? That he goes to. The article that you sent me said that it's Yonsei. I want to say.
Oh, was it? Oh, yeah. Yonsei. There's like, it's called like the Sky University. It's like the top 3 in Korea, and it's like Yonsei, Korea University, and I don't remember the last one. I'm drawing a blank, but yeah. It's basically the like Harvard or MIT of Korea.
Gotcha.
So they just translated and picked something that we would be able to relate to.
I think, in translation, because for an American audience, if they say Oxford, like we get what they mean, even if we can
Although they would too.
parse that it's not. But I mean, for us, if they just said Yonsei, then
We wouldn't know
we
what they
wouldn't
were talking about.
necessarily
Yeah, not at all.
get that. I think from context, you could get like, oh, prestigious, big deal. But if they just say using Oxford as just shorthand.
I'm glad that you said that because it was strange to me that they specifically mentioned Oxford. I was like,
Yeah, like I don't know. I mean,
That's
she
kinda
went
weird.
to
school, but it's up there.
She went to the University of Illinois, so it's a little more random, I guess, or Illinois Arts Academy or whatever
Something
they say
like
she
that,
went to. Yeah, that's what a cool movie. And
wrap it up.
There's just
Push the
like
button. There's nothing else to talk
so
about.
much
It's
to
a simple
dig
movie.
into. I think one thing I do want to make sure we talk about a little bit, and hopefully this isn't just me monologuing. I want you guys to throw out some images you like too, because I feel like Bong Joon Ho, as I was gonna say as like an image creator, and I couldn't tell if that sounded too dumb and too pretentious at the same time. But just as like he just knows where to put the fucking camera, man. It looks there's so many images in this movie that I love.
There's really good lines.
Yes.
If that makes sense. But like the angles and lines are just like
I feel like
so satisfying.
there's not a lot of them, but I felt like every like outdoor scene had really good like angles and there were a lot of lines.
well, they
and,
emphasized
like, color.
the angles too because of the like the height, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they were constantly showing that you were either going uphill or
down,
downhill.
Yeah.
I love the
I love the tent in the backyard. Out the window was really cool.
I mean, the house itself is very specifically kind of an example of what we're talking about. They built just the first floor. The top floor is all digitally added, which is kind of crazy.
Oh, wow.
But they built the first floor on a lot, and then like on a studio lot, top floor is all blue screen. So anytime you're looking beyond like the hedges or whatever, that's all CGI, all the mountains and shit. But they specifically made that huge room on the first floor so it would look good in the aspect ratio they were using, 235:1 or whatever. So the like shape of the big window and the end of that room is the actual like aspect ratio that the movie's in.
Cool.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's just dope as hell. They just thought of everything, man.
Also, I just want to point out, if you have grass in the middle of Seoul, you're filthy rich.
I mean, you can kind of
gotta-
There's
tell.
no
Yeah.
grass anywhere.
Yeah.
I love how the first time they go up into the yard and it's just all of a sudden silent after.
In green.
Yeah, you don't realize it, but you've just been with the Kim family in the city until that point, and all the other like city sounds just drop away, and yeah, it's green and there's trees.
I bet that was intentional too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
God.
Yeah.
The music and the sound in this movie are great. But yeah, the images especially are what I like. The one that even my mom cites is the eyes of the guy coming up from the edge of the stairs when it's
That
It's
the flood.
really scary.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
They do a real good job making it really scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one.
That could be like plucked straight out of a horror movie, I think. That
It could.
one
Oh, yeah.
picture, yeah.
That's
Like, yeah, I'd be scared too.
yeah, that's there. Obviously the flood and the rock coming up from all the shit water. Yeah, so much good shit.
Something else. Oh, go ahead, Greg.
I think
Jessica blowing on the peach. That's
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the scene that I like the most in this movie is them as a family all under that table.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think,
I mean, they're under the table covered in trash,
and
the rich people are wearing like silk PJs
Fucking.
and fucking on the couch.
Yeah.
yep,
And making fun of poor people.
making
Yeah.
fun of the poor people.
Yep.
And I really like,
It's like it's
It-
almost too on the nose.
Yeah.
It just comes all the way around to just being a perfect creation.
it's just so good.
Mhm.
It is so good, that whole scene. And you're just like, you feel uncomfortable the whole time. It's just awful. You know what I mean? Like,
They're talking about his smell and like,
yeah.
Oh,
That's like
the
the-
smell thing was like
that one hurts.
awesome.
Yeah. That was the first time they mention it, right?
They mentioned it because the son said that they all smell the same.
Yes, the sun
Yes.
is mentioned. They all smell the same. This is the first.
But that
time
was
they,
the
like,
first
dive
time that
into
they
it.
like really
Yeah.
started saying that it was like a really bad negative thing.
And I feel
Yeah.
like that
That
is,
smell crosses the line.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Park says.
and that's the first time he like he smells himself, and I feel like that whole thing, because it happens another like couple times.
Oh, all at very important decision moments for the
Mhm.
dad.
And I feel like that is when I first noticed like just the amount of acting that dad does with his face, because it just like escalates from there too. Like a lot of his most important scenes, I feel like he really just doesn't even say anything.
He doesn't need to. Yeah.
He does not need to. He does it all like with his eyes, and like he just looks so defeated.
I think it's not even a reaction gif, but just a reaction image that I see online a lot when someone says something that is like very shittily elitist, is just the shot of him driving the car with the mom's feet up on the back of the
Mhm.
chair when she like
It's
covers her nose and Song Kang-ho just gives that look ahead. And yeah, just that image.
that.
That is acting.
Yep. Yeah. His performance is wicked good there.
I don't know
He's
what it is,
wonderful,
but like the whole thing with the smell, I
Yeah.
really liked all of that. I don't know. It was just because it started small with the son, and it's like they all smell the same. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, families like
I was
do
like, they all-
smell the same.
I was
right?
like, they all smell like fumigation. Was my immediate thought.
But then they were like,
Yeah.
no, we smell like a basement. We smell poor. And
Yep.
then you know,
Yes.
it just like escalated from there. Like, not only do they smell poor, they smell bad all the time. And they smell like the subway, and they smell like the underground. And
Yes, and that's ultimately what makes Mr. Kim decide to identify with the basement
Yeah.
dweller guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that at that point in time, Park puts his fingers on his nose when the guy's laying there dead, and he just says like, you know what, fuck that guy.
Yep.
Fuck that guy especially.
Yep.
And the wife, he was like trying to help the wife out by telling her about, you know, the maid and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, when they're in that little like closet or whatever,
Yeah,
and he
it's
like
horrible.
shakes her hand, and she's like disgusted, completely
Yeah, did
like
you use
appalled,
hand
and like,
sanitizer?
did you wash your hands? And it's like, oh, this dude just helped you. Like, well, he didn't actually. But you think he just helped you a bunch, and the first thing you thought of was, did you wash your hands?
Oh, well, I thought they said that because he touched the tissue with the blood on it with the
I think it works
TB
both
germs.
ways.
Oh yeah.
I think it's
But I
because
guess I
of
didn't
that.
think about
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
It's because of that, but like, why? What kind of person has that on their mind?
that's true.
You know.
Like
Yeah.
even like pushing him down even more.
I guess
And
I didn't
then,
think about
like,
it.
And he gives that kind of like, not even an eye roll, but he just gives that like
That's what
Yeah.
you're thinking about right now.
I can't respond to that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I also put down in my notes because that made me think of the guy that was pissing outside of their window
Yeah.
every day. It almost like pushes them even further down because this like basically piece of shit dude that's just like getting drunk pissing is pissing like on where they're living. Like he's
Mhm.
above them.
And above
even.
them, yeah.
Like,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, he can afford
even
to get
that dude.
he can afford to get drunk. So yeah,
True.
he's one class above them, I guess.
So yeah, speaking of
It only
image,
costs $1.
Yeah.
speaking of
Soju's real cheap.
memorable images, that the slow motion with Jessica on her phone looking at
Mm-hmm.
the water and piss flying through the air.
Mm-hmm.
Just you know, that's not a shot that a lot of directors think of. So all credit to Bong Joon Ho and his team, and you know, the
I
DP
thought that
and
was gonna
everyone
go in a
else
co- like, I
for
thought
making that happen.
The movie, like she was gonna record that and post it somewhere, and then the parents were gonna find it or something like the of the,
Oh.
of
Yeah,
the
no
of the
no
house.
significance really.
no, just a
but no
cool
plot.
shot.
Yeah.
Just a slow motion.
I did like
Shot
that
of
there were
water
like
piss.
some things like where I was like, oh, this is really funny.
Yeah.
You know, they had a couple lines. I think the other one I really liked was when they're in that, I think they refer to it as like a cafeteria. They're
Yeah.
all like they're eating the food and stuff, and the dad's like, "Oh, eat as much as you want. You know, yeah, eat, have a lot, eat as much as you want." And the mom's like, "Well, yeah, they can eat as much as they want. They bought it."
Yeah, just you know, everyone's underemployed, and it's flipping that dynamic how it is supposed to work on its head. That you know, the son is the only one who has a job right now,
Yep.
and the sister should be in school, I guess, is the implication, but they can't afford to send her to lessons.
Yeah, they did.
Is
say
what
that.
is what they've
Yeah.
said. So, good movie, good
is.
fucking movie.
I would like some opinions on how the fuck we're supposed to feel about our four main. I want to say they're the main characters, but this cast is really big, honestly, because there's like
Sure,
what a
8?
solid 10 characters that are like
I'd say 9, and then maybe the husband in the basement you count as 10.
that's yeah. I'm saying like there's probably 10 characters that really matter in this movie. I know he's quite a bit smaller, but obviously he's pretty important. But there's at least 9
Sure.
characters you regularly see that are like these are important characters. I'd still say our families are 4 main characters. How do you guys feel about them? Like, what the fuck are we supposed to think about these main characters? Because obviously they are not like heroes in the story or anything like that.
Yeah,
I think they took, you know, in their situation they had like nothing, and they took that and made something with it. And I actually wrote this down, how they were just in like a shitty situation and didn't have a lot of resources or anything, but they were able to like big brain the whole scenario, get all 4 of them jobs, make like money, and dupe these people that see themselves as way higher than them, that have all this money and like are, well, at least like the mom is like portrayed as like kind of dumb, and they're able to outsmart the rich that are like better than them. I thought that was really cool. I mean, they're not good people,
Yeah,
but
so-
it's kind of like due to their situation. Like,
Yeah, they definitely got dealt a really bad hand. I think I'd feel better about it if they didn't leave such a trail behind them. If they didn't get the other 2 workers fired, I'd feel a lot better about everything. And I, like you said, that's what
dog-eat-dog
really fucks
world.
them.
Mm.
Because the driver's not quite as bad because the dad is trying to convince himself at one point that it wasn't bad. He's like, oh, he's doing fine, I'm sure. And you
Yeah,
do
he
kind of
probably got a better job,
he
right?
probably got a
Like,
better
He's young,
job,
he's
right?
probably working somewhere else.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But obviously the housekeeper, like, oh fuck, like, and you really see
that was her whole
scene.
life.
Yeah, they really
I
send
think
that
that's
home.
the
for
More
us.
thing.
more
Just,
than
like-
they even know at that point. It's quite
Yeah.
literally her whole life
Yeah.
in that house. So.
At the very beginning of the movie, like nobody really seems like that bad. You know, it's the poor people trying to survive, and the rich people are, kind of dumb, but it's okay. And it just as the movie goes on, they just like is totally polarized. You know. they just get worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really a couple of the dynamics I really like is one that they're doing these jobs. And even though they got in there by scamming, they actually can do these jobs.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Yeah.
I
you
get
know.
there's not really any art therapy happening. But
No, but you know,
she is teaching art.
But he seems like chiller.
Yeah,
There's at least a few hours a week where the
And-
kid
and-
is
art.
and the mom, even if she's not doing anything, actually, the mom feels better, which is
Yeah.
like important. That's why, like, if it wasn't for them getting those people fired, I'd be like, I'd be all about it.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, it is pretty unprofessional to just spend all your English lessons just like macking on a
Okay,
teenager.
That's the
but
other thing too. I have.
Well, that happened later on too.
I think
like,
I think
at first
Q
it was
actually
just
like was pretty good at
lessons
English and was like actually
no.
teaching her.
at first.
But he also made out with a
yeah, because after
Well,
all,
how old
he's
is
the
he
only
supposed to be?
one.
15 maybe.
He,
I think she's 16 or something like that. I don't
probably
know.
he like fakes his credentials,
young.
but he does legitimately get that job
So
through someone
when
who
he
thinks
gets
he can
that
do
job,
it.
I didn't care at all because I was like, oh yeah, he can do it. You know what I mean?
Right,
Sure, he's
exactly.
faking his credentials, but is that big of a deal? He's doing, you know what I mean?
And he
He
showed that.
it just kept getting worse.
He
Like,
lied on
yeah,
his
he got in
resumes.
and he was supposed to. Like, he could do the job at least. And then she got in. It's like, okay, well, that was a little worse.
You know,
And then they
yeah.
got the driver fired. He's like, oh, that was bad, but I guess the dad has driven before, and
Yeah,
like
he's actually
maybe
like
that
pretty
dude
good.
got another job.
They
And then
gave
they
that
got
dude
the
a big severance at least.
and then they got the mom, and the mom doesn't have any housekeeping experience, and they fired that poor housekeeper.
She's
that
like
lives there.
boiling
It together.
clothing.
Yeah.
She
Yeah,
is.
do you remember that scene? She was
She's-
like boiling a t-shirt.
Yeah, she's like faking it to make it.
Yeah,
But so that's one of the dynamics I like. I also enjoy
I did really like that too.
that. And I forgot the second one. But so the point is, how are you supposed to feel about this family? That ties into the question of the title of this movie is Parasite, and what does that refer to?
Yeah, who's the Parasite?
So you've only had a couple days to watch it, so I'm curious how you guys feel about that question. Not to turn the question back on you, but
So I definitely thought about this a little bit because like obviously, the title of the movie is Parasite. Who's our leech here? And man, I don't fucking know.
Which is the best part.
Yeah,
There's several. Maybe
there's a lot.
Is that the answer.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't see why the answer can't be almost every main character in this movie here.
Yeah.
Because obviously our poor family is just leeching off these rich people. Because obviously even the dad says something about it along the lines of like the amount of money we're getting from them like as salary is like.
I'm gonna start with the dude that's literally living in the basement.
Living
like,
in the
nobody
basement?
knows that he's there.
He's the biggest leech.
He's
He-
literally
yes.
just
Yes.
leeching all their.
At least the other
power.
people are giving actual services for the money.
Yes.
So I feel like they're
Liter-
not leeching as much.
literally
just a
like
literal
living in the bowels of the house and
parasite.
stealing food.
Yes, like
So-
he's basically like a tapeworm, I guess, right?
Oh my god.
Oh,
I
didn't
mean,
even-
literally, yeah.
yeah.
I just thought about when Mr. Park says she eats enough for 2 people.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I didn't even think about
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
Because she says something. Because they make the connection to
Because she's hungry.
the
I thought she was
Right.
just a little chunky, you know?
the
Like I don't
the
know,
the
for
wife
Korea, at
says
least.
something about it too, and then
I'm being serious.
the housekeeper says something like, "No, I paid for it all, though."
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that's interesting is I guess he's not stealing food apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's so unfair.
did she
Yeah.
pay for it all? Because
I don't know.
why
think
would the
she
husband be
probably did.
saying that she eats too much food? Like,
Because he's an asshole.
I think she was like
He-
not. I don't think she was directly like giving him money for it. I think she was finding creative ways to reimburse the house.
oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
So she wasn't
think-
literally buying the groceries with her own money. And
I think so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because that would be really suspicious if she brought in her own groceries every
Yeah,
day
it's
and was
kinda
just
weird.
like, "I'm gonna put these in the basement. Don't worry about them."
Yeah.
Well, she probably does all of the shopping.
no one would
Right,
even know.
yeah. Yeah. So I figured that's what it is.
Yeah.
So
And she's just pitching in a little bit.
she's
more.
she's pitching in, and then probably all that food's in the one location, and she's taking out of the veggie drawer or whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I mean, everybody is right. We all live in the same country called capitalism, and it makes everyone a parasite. So Bong Joon Ho said, because the story is about a poor family infiltrating and creeping into the rich house, it seems very obvious that Parasite refers to the poor family. And I think that's why the marketing team was a little hesitant. But if you look at it the other way, you can say that the rich family, they're also parasites in terms of labor. They can't even wash their own dishes. They can't drive themselves, so they have to leech off of a poor family's labor. So that's...
It's almost like we
and
all
obviously
need each
that's
other.
a microcosm for a much bigger thing, certainly here and in Korea and in a lot of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, the husband even mentions that the wife can't like do anything.
Yeah.
Like she can't do any housework. She can't cook. He's like, the house is going to be destroyed in a week. Yeah, she can't raise the children. She can't do anything. She shop.
So
Kind of, because
can't
she
even
needs the
make
driver
ramdon.
to come shopping too, actually.
Yeah. I love.
Have you ever tried that?
No.
No, it's
Tried
really
what?
It's fucking good.
The,
Ramdon,
making the like dish, that
which
they
I know
made.
isn't actually called that, but it's
It's just like a combination of like two different things. with
Yeah.
some meat.
I know, like for the trans, because it says on the Wikipedia, so grain of salt, but it says that it's ramdon in the translation, but that's not actually what they call it or whatever. So
Is it
Uh,
like ramen and udon?
no, it's like an actual name for a dish, but for like our audiences, it would because it's the mix of those.
It's the two different.
noodles.
I forgot how they.
It looked good. I'd eat it.
It looked good. But I was saying, I love that they like. She's like, oh, he loves this dish. Can you make this for him? And it's like, what, 10 o'clock at night at that point or whatever. And then he doesn't even care. He doesn't want it at all.
Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah,
she's like-
japaguri.
There you
they like started selling that as like a pre-made.
Yeah.
thing.
What's it called? Sorry. I just want to get it clean.
It's called japaguri.
Okay.
Nope.
But it was also
Anyway.
kind of funny because it seemed, well, I mean, I don't know. There was a little bit loss of translation there, but I'm like, oh, so basically they're making ramen noodles. And she's like, and just throw some sirloin in there. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, great. They're just like cutting up this steak at 10 o'clock at night and
Well-
throwing it in this like ramen pot.
That's the funny thing is she's like, oh, you should have some. And then she goes like, well, no, there's sirloin in it. I'll eat it.
Oh, did she? I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she's like, well, no, there's sirloin in that. So like one of us should have it.
Fucked up.
Basically is
Know what?
not in so many words.
Another scene that I like too, like I said, table scene, definitely I think my top one. But like right before that, when they're like having they're living together in the living room and everything.
Yeah.
That scene I really like too, because that's when they're talking about the driver too. And the daughter is like, don't worry about him. Like you should be worrying about us.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like that was something where I was like, oh yeah, man, it sucks to be like
Yeah.
really poor, where you're like your number one concern all the time has to be like, you have to worry about us or we're not going to make it kind of thing. You
Yeah.
can't worry about anybody else.
It was kind of interesting though, because he did like, he seemed to be the only one that really kind of cared about the other people. Like obviously the rich people didn't care about anybody else except themselves either.
Mhm.
You know, they can't afford to care about other
They can.
people and they just didn't.
Yes. They can afford to be like fake nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is a point that they make that I love.
It reminds me of every time you go to like a store and they ask you to donate money for something. Like, why don't you do that? Why am I worried about this?
Oh, well, no, it's so they can use your donation as a tax write-off
Yes,
for
I
them.
know.
Yeah. They
It's
also
all
keep
facade.
Yes.
they keep the money for a year and they take all the interest from it so that they're still technically donating the dollar that you gave, but they're making $1 off of it too.
Anyway, go to your local McDonald's
Musk.
because they need your money.
That, yes. That
Anyway.
is
Ronald McDonald House needs your help.
that scene. The one thing that like threw me off in this movie that I was, and maybe one of you guys got more out of it, is in that same scene, the son is talking about the daughter. What's the
Dahe?
The high.
Yes, Dahai, about how he's going to ask her out, and I'm like, because at this point, up to this point, I'm like,
And
this
they're so excited that he has
How
a
is
plan.
that gonna work?
this guy has seemed to be a seemingly intelligent person up to this point, and I'm like, how do you ever see you asking this girl out working in any fashion?
He was thinking with the wrong head.
He was
That's a literal like that's that situation.
I don't know. I think maybe at that point he had just been like living this lie that he started to believe it. You know, like, oh, actually, you know, I'm a like great tutor. Like, look at me.
Yeah,
like,
you gotta buy your own bullshit.
Well, it's not even that though. His family is all here, like working in her house. Like
I know.
she's just
Yeah, they-
never gonna meet your family.
No,
he
they-
probably thinks he could just tell her the truth and she loves him. So it'll
He
be
He said
okay.
he was going to hire actors, right? He said he thought about it.
That came later. I wasn't sure if that was a joke.
It didn't seem
Probably
like it
not.
because they said that
not.
the sister was going to weddings and pretending to be like
A
friends
bridesmaid
and
and
family.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so
But
The
no,
one
that was
thing
not a good plan.
The thing I liked about that scene too is with all this stuff, like it's just the family kind of like interacting and stuff. The whole time this is happening, though, they keep commenting on like they're watching the thunder and lightning and the rain. And I'm just so into what's going on with this family. I'm not even thinking about the fact that like the rich people are supposed to be camping right now. That clearly cannot be happening.
yeah.
And like, I feel like in a different movie, I'd notice that and be like, "Oh, what? This doesn't make any sense. Like, how can those rich people be camping right now? Look at
Yeah,
this.
you're
weather."
just with them, but they just got to worry about them.
I'm
That's
just
it.
worrying about them, and I'm not thinking. And neither are they. You know what I
I
mean?
love that, like, how classy is this drinking our whiskey? And what there's just like food scraps all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not supposed to think of this as a reference, but every time I was watching that scene, I just thought of the scene in Zombieland where they're like hanging out in Bill Murray's house and they're playing board
Yeah.
games and they have the real
Yeah,
money and
I
they're
mean, for real.
drinking. That's all I could think of the whole time. Is like it was the same scene basically, but it wasn't funny.
Whiskey's expensive in Korea.
That makes sense.
It's like even like a small bottle of Jack Daniels is like $45. I just refused. I was like, I am not spending that much money on Jack Daniels. Like you could get that out of a faucet in America.
I also really like the daughter, Jessica, because like the fact that she gives like kind of a different performance when she is Jessica, like I really like that.
She becomes Jessica.
She becomes Jessica, you know what I
She
mean?
should be an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's just like so kind of dry and droll. As
Yeah,
Jessica.
she's like a new character every time, and she like really gets into it. She didn't need to do that. You know what I mean? These people don't know who she is, but she's like, no,
She's good at it.
this is who they're gonna vibe with is Jessica. So I'll put on this
Yeah.
persona. And-
Jessica, only child, Illinois, Chicago.
yes, yeah, I really like that a lot.
Thinking about your question about how Q thought that somehow his relationship was going to work. First of all, the parents, even if he was just like a normal dude that wasn't working there, would never allow that because like the like social class thing is. So I wrote
That's
a
why I
bunch
think
of
he
stuff.
was like delusional at that point. Like
Yeah.
he thought like
He
was
thought he was a higher class because
Yeah.
they were, drinking whiskey and, in a
Yeah.
fancy house. But like you can tell that there's obviously that kind of like, I feel like in Korea you kind of like marry and, it's the same thing in America. Like you kind of
Yeah.
reasonably marry within your own class, like naturally, because that's the people you're around. But when the Mr. Kim asks Mr. Park, "Oh, but you still love her, right?"
Mhm.
And he just laughs. It's because literally like they both probably came from rich families, and once you're like 30 something in Korea, like you gotta get married or you're kind of weird. And they probably went an arranged date and like just married because they're both like at a similar point. So like I don't know how he thought that like that was never gonna work.
So the,
They also like they kind of like touch on that a little bit though at the end where the party's going on and he's upstairs with her and they're looking out the window at the party and he's like, "Do I fit in here? Like am I like,
that's right.
So I think he had started to think that, he was living in this world and like he belonged there. Like he keeps talking about how he's going to be rich.
That's true.
It's because he snapped out of it a bit when he was wading through the shit in his basement and he
and
woke
so-
up in the homeless shelter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think was him realized like
That's not gonna
this
happen.
it's not
No.
I'm not getting the fairy tale ending that I was like thinking about.
and he's looking down at all the party guests, being like, they're so cool, and
Yeah.
like on short notice, how can they be this cool?
Mm-hmm.
Then I just love when he's like, I have to go down. She's like, why do you want to go down there? He's like, no, I have to go down lower. Oh man, that whole scene when he goes to the
Oh.
basement that time is whoa. And
I kind of
mean,
laughed at that too. I don't know if you were supposed to, but like the mom and the sister were like, things got out of hand last night. Like, let's go bring them some food. Like, we can talk this out. And the son's over there walking down the stairs with a rock. Like, oh my God, you guys
Feel
gotta
that.
get on the same page here.
Yeah, and that speaking of image making, the noose coming up behind his head. I remember seeing
yeah.
that in theaters and being like, oh fuck.
I was like,
Yeah.
this kid's dead right here. This is it.
Yeah, it really looked like he should have died based on all the all the trauma he had to his head, but just I guess he was in a coma for a month. But yeah, what a cool movie.
Oh,
There's so many things that we're just not going to get to, and I prefer to talk to you guys about your experience watching it and you with your perspective anyway. One thing that we do absolutely need to touch on is this in relation to Oscars, which we'll get into a little deeper. Very famously, it wins the Screen Actor Guild Award for Best Ensemble, which is their equivalent of Best Picture. And it has no acting nominations at the Oscars.
Yeah. So
The performances in this movie are all fucking incredible.
yeah. So it blew my mind
Yeah.
watching it. I'm thinking, so off the top of my head, I have a couple possible solutions, some better than others, like in better light. So my good one, like the benefit of the doubt, is that watching as an American, watching a film that's subtitled, not in your language, it's a lot harder to appreciate a performance. You know what I mean? Like it's just a little bit more difficult to really get that out of that. I still think they were great performances. My worst light is I think everyone at the Oscars is just kind of racist, to be honest.
Oh yeah, everybody knows that.
Uh-huh.
So
That's
I'm
been a
kind of
thing.
thinking it's just that.
There's probably a lot of
that's
other
fine.
things in
Combination,
between, but
too.
yeah.
I was gonna say I think there's a mix. You know, I'm sure it's a little bit of both. But I mean, you don't have to like. I don't speak any Korean, and I was blown away by at least a couple of the performances, and I definitely would not have told you that I thought someone had a bad performance.
I bet
in
it
this.
probably would have been better too if we did speak the language and we weren't distracted reading. You know, like I feel like we
Yeah.
could have gotten even more out of it.
I probably would have gotten more out of it.
That's what I did first.
Yeah.
I mean,
But like I did, even not knowing that and having to read like subtitles first watch through, I still thought all the performances were great. Like every one of them.
I was going to say, even on a first time, you pick up like the code shifting that Jessica's doing when she's Jessica, or Song Kang Ho's facial expressions and his like physical acting.
Yeah, I
You still
like,
pick
he
that
might
up
be
on
my
the first
favorite.
watch.
his
Yeah, he's
decline.
great.
Fucking
Like,
incredible.
and like I said, like it's not
great.
like he ever has like a chat with someone that would reveal his mental state, but it's just so clear just through like his performance. You can
Yes.
see it shifting and where it's like hitting that bottom point. You know what I mean?
So in particular with him and Bong Joon Ho are worked together 4 or 5 times, I think. And that's a very fruitful director-actor relationship. He's amazing in all of the roles I've ever seen him in, which are only in Bong Joon Ho movies, which I feel bad about. I should seek out some other stuff. But this, obviously, and then we mentioned before Memories of Murder.
He's in that movie. Right?
He's awesome in that movie. He's the host is kind of an ensemble, but he's still sort of the main guy in that, and that's another amazing movie. He's in Snowpiercer, so he's
The other thing I could say to give the Oscars a little bit more benefit of the doubt, which I think racism is actually a big part of it, but it's also not entirely about the movies and the performances. It is a big advertisement. You know what I mean? It is like
yeah.
hyping people up. So in like a sense of let's make some money, it makes more sense to nominate like big American actors that you're gonna want people to go seek out in movies next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not really fair.
and get the viewership too. Of
Yeah,
this
you-
actual ceremony. I
You
guess.
want viewership. Who, you know, most of your viewership is going to be Americans. So do they want to see this, you know, actor get nominated, or do they want to see, you know, Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio get nominated for something? Like I said, not really fair, because now it's not really coming down to the performances, which is what it really should be about. But I'm sure that plays a part in it.
I'm sure it does. And I think any of the kind of Oscar prognostication always has a tone of the Oscars as this kind of big monolith, but there's different huge groups of people that vote in every category. And it's, I think, like over tens of thousands of people. So it's hard to really put too much agency on exactly what they're doing as a kind of strategy. It's just sort of a consensus with literally thousands of people voting. But it is also at the same time kind of incredible that you can say this movie has the best screenplay, best director, it's the best picture of the year. we're not going to nominate any of the acting. You have 20 acting slots, and none of these people are in the top 20 of the performances we've seen this year.
You know, everything was
It's
perfect
really
about the
weird.
movie, but
Yeah.
acting was just bad.
Yeah, these other
You know, when
movies
you
that
think
like
about
didn't
it.
win any awards, the acting was great.
Yeah, and not necessarily saying like any of them wouldn't won that year. Brad Pitt wins supporting actor. Joaquin Phoenix wins for Joker and Best Actor. So yeah, maybe those are like written in stone. You're not going to move that, but you know, you can nominate these guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I feel like it's well deserved. I mean, I think part of it is probably due to like the subtitle different because subtitles aren't direct translations. They try to make it fit with the mouth, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that fucks a lot up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get like you want to make it look good, but people are reading anyway. They're like, I personally would rather them like more properly translate what's happening and like the meaning from the direct. Like, I wish the director read through the translations and like said whether or not that's like what his intentions were, you know? Because I feel like some of it's lost because like some of the stuff they say, it like doesn't match up. And it's because they want like, there's something like, oh, that was ballpark the same, but they want it to match with the mouths. Where I'd rather just get like the true intention of the words rather than just reading the words.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe I have a different opinion than other people, but just give me the words. I don't care if it matches up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
'Cause
might
it's
be
not the
somewhere
same
in the middle,
language
'cause
anyway.
I feel like, I don't know,
I think
sometimes
it's
if I'm watching
especially
something,
with dubs that they do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
So
I don't know. If I'm watching something and the audio doesn't line up, I feel like it like just drives me absolutely crazy. So
Well,
I
the,
don't
the
know, maybe I
audio the audio would still line up because they're still
Yeah,
speaking the
speaking
original
Korean.
words. It's
Yeah.
you know,
Maybe subconsciously this is just a thing that you do though when you're reading. I don't know.
Because there's like some things in Korean you can say in 2 words that mean like the same thing that's like 2 sentences in English and like vice versa. But like, yeah, I don't know.
I mean this. So this was what 2 years ago, right? Oscars for this one.
last
Yeah,
two
not
years have
last-
been tough to remember.
Yeah,
what's
so it wasn't
happened, I
last year. It
guess.
was the year before.
Yep. Last year was the train
Pretty
station
sure
Oscars.
there was plenty of room to put some of these people in the nominations. I don't think it was particularly strong for actor, actress, supporting. So, I don't know. The other part I like too is when the son is talking about buying the house because they've done this before. They did the part of the plan to get rid of the housekeeper. They're discussing the plan and they're showing it happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once again, he's discussing his plan. They're showing it happening, and I was like, "Holy fuck! How is this possible? Like, you, and maybe that's part of the movie, but I was like, you can't work hard and to get that rich. That's not possible. You can't just be like, I'm gonna work hard and get rich enough to buy this house.
Isn't that the idea of capitalism?
And I was like, that's impossible.
Ray.
You
Right,
could
yeah.
They're
never
gonna shut us
actually.
down.
There's nothing you could do. You have to be born into something like that. You can't work hard enough to
No, that's the
become that
dream.
rich.
That's the point.
Along
Yeah.
with
Yes.
some luck.
So I was like, that's not possible. And then it cuts and it didn't really happen. And I was
Yep.
like, okay,
Yep.
that makes more sense.
Mm. No,
Very
you work
realistic.
hard, you pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and you become successful,
You
right?
stick with the same job
But they
your
did
whole
get
life,
me because they
they'll
did that
reward
before.
you.
So I thought they were just doing it again. They
Yeah,
were
that
showing
was
me
really
happen it
good.
as they explain it, but it wasn't this time. This time it was just like the thought.
So
And
good.
Bong has really good endings.
yeah,
So some people do not.
Real
he does.
that was really, really good.
The other thing I really liked was while that whole like knife fight scene was going on, so like, you know, obviously the rich family doesn't care anything about like the actual knife fight that's happening. They're just like, "Oh my god, my son passed out." Like, stop saving that lady and like get this passed
Yeah.
out kid to the hospital.
Yeah.
Even the dog, the dude is like laying there dead. He's got the skewer of meat like stuck through him, and the dog comes over and starts eating the meat.
Yeah.
Like, even the rich
Oh,
dog
I
was
forgot
just
about
like,
that. That's right.
Yeah. He's
The-
just like, well,
Well,
oh,
it doesn't
cool,
matter.
cool
Dead
Dog's
meat.
like,
Who
I don't
cares?
give
I
a
got
shit
some
about
meat.
you.
Good meat times.
Yeah.
Granted, you could argue the dog is classist, but our dog would do the same thing, and we're only halfway up the hill.
Yeah.
I was gonna
No,
say
it's
if I had a
symbolic.
couple
I
of
know it is.
treats on my dead
It was
body, the
good. It
Dagoos
was-
would be all over it.
So,
They might
It
even
was
take a
good.
bite out of me.
I know, I was gonna say that our dog would probably eat us if we were dead. So
yeah. That ending, the coda is incredible. It's so good. Like you said, it's kind of a fake out because they've done that before, and it turns out that's actually happening as it's happening.
Yep.
I think the actor has said that he thinks it would, you know, roughly he'd have to work for 550 years or so to get that much money to buy that house, which sounds about right.
As an actor.
No, like
Oh,
like any job that this guy can like work hard and attain.
I don't know. Maybe
He
it dropped
needs
in
a-
value because of the murders.
Clearly not. It's just rich Germans living there afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole sequence. We didn't mention that the sister dies,
Yep.
and he can't stop laughing until he sees the news reports, I guess. But that the sequence with him going on top of the hill that leads into that where he sees the Morse code it's just so good. And then you described the rest from there.
I was a little confused about the Morse code because that was a long letter. How long was he sitting out there watching?
How long was the guy living in the basement? You got to pick your disbelief, you know?
I don't know. I mean, how
You
long
picked
is
a
it?
weird one to disbelieve.
I know.
Well, that's a long Morse code message. Surely the son would have been like, "Fuck this! I'll get the rest tomorrow." And
I mean, did he though? Like, how long would it take to type out that thing one by one? long
you do
time.
like a letter a second, probably in Morse code, or a letter every couple seconds.
I mean, I think
He's got nothing else to do.
I was gonna say my concern is not
I'm
like
not
what is
concerned about the dad. I'm concerned about the son.
So you think he saw that his dad is clearly talking to him in Morse code? He's like, "Well, this is too long."
He just goes like, I'm not gonna read all that.
Yeah.
Can
Give
I
me
get
the TLDR, Dad.
TLDR?
He's sitting there. I hate it when my parents text. Like you could do this so much shorter.
They always, they speak
Paul?
way too long. The grammar's weird. They use too many ellipses for no reason. It's like, oh no, that's just Morse code. That's not an ellipsis.
Can you imagine if he's putting punctuation in there too? This, oh my god! Like really?
Come on, Dad.
Hurry it up! I've
Smiley
been
There is
here
a
for-
shorter way to say
I've been
this.
here for 8 hours. It's cold out.
It's like clear. You didn't have to put in the part like, oh, maybe you'll never see this, because like obviously, if I see it, I'm seeing
I'm
it.
seeing it, Dad.
You don't need to put that part in.
It was just so long.
Okay, so should we talk a little bit about Oscar perspective on Parasite?
Yeah, let's
Sure.
get into it.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know what to talk about, but
So Oscars and just generally in accolades, it
who's Oscar?
the Grouchies in the trash can. So premieres at the 2019 Cannes Film
Low class.
Festival.
Low class.
He's very low class. Wins the Palme d'Or, and then ends up not getting the most nominations at the Academy Awards, but winning the most. It wins 4. Obviously, Best Picture, or we wouldn't be talking about it tonight. Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best International Feature Film. It's the first non-English language film to win Best Picture, obviously.
Which is crazy
Yeah.
because there's so
There's
many
been a lot.
non-English movies that are incredible.
And the first South Korean film to win any kind of Academy Award recognition. And it's one of 3 films ever to win both the Palme d'Or and the Academy Award for Best Picture. The 2 before that were The Lost Weekend in 1945 and Marty in 1955. So it had been a while.
Did Old Boy not win anything for anything?
This,
I don't think it did.
in case you're wondering, Parasite went 4 for 6.
4 for 6.
Lost
Sound?
I was looking. at it, too.
Lost best film editing and best production design.
Okay. Ooh, it should have won production design.
Yeah, I don't know who it lost to, but yeah, it had a.
I mean, it had a really good production
It did
design.
have really
Had
good
good cinematography.
It wasn't even nommed, I guess.
No nomination there.
It's like one of the best parts,
Yeah, for sure.
arguably.
So we already said it has no acting nominations, but and it grosses $263 million worldwide on a $15.5 million budget. So
Profit.
this is the 2019 season of 2020 award ceremony. What should have won Best Picture in 2019? This is the first time you guys watched. So what was your pick at the time? I'm out of curiosity, like personal kind of.
I wish I had my ballot.
I wish I had my ballot too. I have a feeling that looking back at what was nominated, I probably would have picked either Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or Marriage Story.
And we should say real quick, besides Parasite, the nominees were Ford versus Ferrari.
Ferrari.
Ooh.
Yep.
Ooh, put a little extra zhuzh on it. Ford versus Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I have a feeling I probably would have picked Marriage Story that year, having seen, I think, basically everything but Parasite. At this point, I think Parasite is the best one.
Yeah.
And granted, I haven't seen the other ones in like 2 years now, but I think Parasite is the best one easily.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like if I had watched it, I probably would have picked it. I think I picked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood to win. I really enjoyed Marriage Story that year, though.
I only saw Joker in 1917.
17.
But yeah, Parasite, like hands down. It's also just like my kind. Like I thought the Joker was really good. Like I enjoyed it, but Parasite's just like it's a whole.
It's
different
interesting
level
though because I think
of layers.
I think I picked Get Out. Was that the year before?
I think that was the year before, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
I feel like that's kind of on the same vibe. That didn't win, so I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't have picked
One
it.
screenplay, right? So you got that.
Yeah,
I think-
no, but I mean it didn't win Best Picture. I picked it. For Best
There was
Picture.
quite a few I liked this year too, but they weren't like this. I did really like Marriage Story because I do really like those like human story movies where it's just like here's some people getting their lives, here's their problems, and I mean this has a lot of that, but like it really goes beyond that. So I think that's what really sold me. I also liked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I didn't get the full value out of it because I'm going to be honest, I did not know who Sharon Tate was when I watched that, so I was a little thrown off.
A little bit of a Mank effect of not knowing the source thing that it's referencing.
Yep, still
But
enjoyed.
We still enjoyed it.
Still enjoyed that. And then honestly, one of the movies I love.
Enjoyed. Very confusing. What was this about?
I absolutely loved Jojo Rabbit that year, but I didn't feel like it was like a Best Picture winner kind of movie.
And that wins screenplay in its category.
Yeah, I loved that movie.
Was it that good?
It was. I thought it was really
Arguably.
funny.
Oh,
It was a
okay.
lot of fun.
Like best picture good.
It is the story of a boy in the Hitler Youth, and he has Hitler as his imaginary best friend.
Oh my god.
And then his mom ends
Played
up
by
hiding,
Taika Waititi, who is a Jewish man.
and then his mom ends up hiding a Jewish girl in the wall.
Oh, I have to see this.
It's funny,
This
actually.
seems very interesting.
It's funny. It's
Yeah.
obviously because he keeps having conversations with Hitler because it's
his
like
mom is Scarlett Johansson.
his mom's Scarlett Johansson, and he keeps like talking to Hitler, and he's like really excited to catch some Jews and like really prove himself to imaginary Hitler, and it's like obviously like a crazy like kind of satirical comedy thing, and it was really really good. Jojo Rabbit, if you would want to check it out.
Also, just to go back on what I said about Old Boy not winning anything, it won 40 awards around the world, nothing in America,
Yeah.
including that what you said Cannes Award, Cannes?
Yeah, I can.
Cannes Awards. And it's in IMDb's like top 100. It's number 69. Nice.
So nice.
I'll go one further. I know you're probably not prepared for this, but not only do I think I would have easily picked this to win that year, out of all the Best Picture winners in like the last probably like we've been watching them for about 10 years, I think this was probably the best one.
Ooh.
I'm with you on that. In 2019, for me, as you may recall, I was very enthusiastic about that year in cinema. I thought there was probably 3 movies that could arguably be my favorite movie in just like a normal replacement level year. But I thought Parasite was far and away just such a lightning bolt of a movie that was my pick and remains my pick that day. That for that year and for the last several years, it's my favorite movie the last several years, I'd have to say. Other movies that were nominated that year that I felt really good about and in other years probably would have been number one for me was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Little Women, which I thought was incredible. You guys haven't mentioned that yet. I guess you disagree.
I liked Little Women.
I thought
Okay.
it was fine.
I liked it. I feel like
what's his name?
Timothy Chalamet.
Chalamet.
I
Yeah.
liked him in that. I felt like that was a good
My
movie.
joke response was going to be Bob Odenkirk, who's in the movie for like 35 seconds.
Oh.
But he's the guy who says "My Little Women." So,
No, I really enjoyed that one.
so he's basically the title.
I had a good
character.
time with that one. I really like
That for me, that movie is just such a triumph of adaptation, and it's the most alive that of any literary adaptation I've ever seen.
who's
Before.
the
I think
main
I didn't
actress?
like the book. That's
Saoirse
why.
Ronan,
Saoirse Ronan.
I like
Yeah.
Saoirse Ronan.
I really like her.
Florence Pugh's incredible in that.
Yeah.
Greta Gerwig directed and adapted it. And
I really liked that one. It was just there was a lot of good movies that year.
I thought you were going to say it's just too many Little Women.
There was just too many Little Women.
I don't like movies that take place in that time period, I think, is my problem.
It had Little Women. I wanted more women.
Yeah. I wanted, or maybe like, I don't know, like
Taller women.
yeah, some
Yeah, taller
medium.
women, big women.
No,
what I was looking
we
for.
need some
dude,
big
that's
women.
Too much. I've seen enough Meryl Streep.
Make sure you
movies.
send an email, reach out. I'm just trying to get engagement here, Ben.
ASL.
No, because like I said, I loved Jojo Rabbit, Marriage Story, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Those were already like so good that it like kind of got just overshadowed. At that point, now you're middle ground out of the best pictures already. You know what I mean?
So for me, I would say Parasite, and then a tier down is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Little Women, and then the next tier, which movies I really love, are probably The Irishman, Marriage Story. You guys didn't mention Irishman either, but I
think I've seen that,
love
actually.
Irishman.
It was too long for me.
I couldn't.
Oh, come on!
I've only
it's
watched
shorter.
parts
It's
of it.
shorter than like half of the Avengers movies, I think.
Um,
And this is the
Half them
Avengers of
put
emotion.
together.
yeah, I don't know.
I guess that's Inside Out.
There were some parts of that I thought were really good, but there was, I don't know, it was too much. It was too boring.
That has some extremely haunting images and some best in decades performances from some of like the signature actors of 20 and 21st century American movies. Which
There
is
was some highlights.
the only centuries we've had movies, but it sounds cooler if you say it like that. Yeah. I mean, De Niro's awesome in that movie. I don't, whatever. The old age stuff is who cares. The de-aging, I mean, is who cares. Pesci is amazing in that movie. His best performance maybe ever. Even better than My Cousin Vinny and Goodfellas, I think. Whatever. It doesn't matter now. It won nothing that night. Very sad for Martin Scorsese. Very memorably, when Bong Joon Ho won Best Director, he quoted Scorsese. He said a quote, and then at the end of the quote had like, because he's so good at reveals, said it, and that was from Martin Scorsese. And the camera was ready. It went right on Scorsese, and he got a standing ovation.
What was the quote?
Cool. He said, "The most personal is the most creative." It's the only time I can remember a different director getting a standing ovation during someone else's Best Director winning speech. Pretty cool shit. Scorsese wrote him a letter after that, and congratulated him.
What'd the letter say?
I'm just kidding. Bong Joon Ho, I actually do know that. Bong Joon Ho said that he couldn't share all of it. This was a film at Lincoln Center event in New York. He said he couldn't share a lot of it because it's personal, but basically Scorsese said he's like really looking forward to his next movie. So
sweet.
Yeah.
Is he? Do you know if
So
he's
am
working?
I.
Have you heard if he's like working on anything right now?
Well, it's funny you ask. They're making a Parasite miniseries for HBO Max with white people.
I thought you were going to say
Oh, of
Parasite 2.
course.
But I mean, that's basically
Yeah,
the
now,
same.
Who's
So-
directing it?
Bong Joon Ho is working on it as an
okay.
executive producer. I don't know that he's directing it.
It's ironic.
Adam
That was
McKay
just
is
to be
also
nice. They're
executive
like,
producing it.
"Hey."
It's ironic because the whole miniseries is the Parasite.
Yes. Tilda Swinton.
It's like a weird fourth wall break.
Yeah. Tilda Swinton is in it as a lead role. Tilda Swinton obviously has worked with him before. He's worked with Bong Joon Ho before. Adam McKay is the other executive producer that's noted. This was all announced in early 2020, so I'm not sure how their timeline and plans have changed.
Okay.
I don't know
Yeah,
anything
I'm
about
not
it since.
excited.
I'm
about
glad
that.
that we're just remaking this, but with white people. That makes it great. I'm very excited.
don't-
for that. I think I'll
I don't
connect with
need
it
it.
more.
I don't feel like I need it, Like, I feel like this is a pretty perfect thing, but it's a mini series, and it says it's going to be exploring. The way Bong put it was, it's exploring story that happens between the sequences of the film. So I guess it's just when they leave the house and like their commute home. I don't know what he means by that.
He's like, yeah, sure. You guys could have all the
It's
rest
what
of the
happened
stuff.
at the camping site.
Huh.
Yeah. So I don't know what that's, we don't know what that's actually going to be. They might not have even started production yet because obviously stuff got so messed up. Good movie.
Yeah.
Trying to think if
There's a lot of good Korean movies. Burning. I like that one
Burning's
a lot.
good. So we should talk big picture Oscars. I said at the beginning that this has maybe started something of a shift at the Oscars. Much publicized. They had a lot of more, I guess the word you use is diverse, younger and people from different backgrounds than the old white guys who used to be thought of as the stereotypical Academy member. They brought in a lot more different people from different backgrounds, younger people, people of color, which was a radical thing, I guess, for them to do just in recent years.
We're so good.
And since then, I guess since Green Book, this wins Best Picture, and now last year, Yoo Yoon Jung, fucking that up, for Minari, who plays the grandma.
Oh, yeah.
She was the first Korean actress to win an acting award at the Academy Awards. Even though that movie is an American product, she's a Korean person, if that makes sense. And she gave a really good speech when she won, even though it was in a train station. This year, there's 4 different movies, I think, that are nominated for, that are in international, that are also nominated in different categories. Most notably, Drive My Car, a Japanese movie that's in director, screenplay, and Best Picture, as well as international. Worst Person in the World is also in screenplay. They're in different screenplay categories, but whatever, you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Flea is in international, documentary, and in animation. So it seems like it's diversifying, right? It seems like there's some stuff going on, but then, maybe
Next
Green Book
year,
2 will
who
win
knows?
next year. We don't know yet.
Green Book 2.
More jokes
Yeah.
about fried chicken. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what the Academy wants again.
Oh God.
They're gonna start making like remakes of foreign films, and those are gonna win awards. Be
Like
oh,
American
yeah.
remakes of
Yeah.
foreign films. Oh,
Right.
Well, they
my
got
God.
the Train to Busan remakes coming, right? So,
Are you serious?
yeah.
Why?
I
It's
think
already.
I guess
it's
Train
done.
to Boston.
It's there.
That's the one that works. Right, yeah. Like, it's there.
Why?
Especially something like that. Like, it's a genre movie. You can just watch it.
We need white people. This movie's just it's not fitting.
Did
I guess.
I need to see if I made that up. in my
I hope
mind.
you are.
So overall, hopeful, but I don't know. I could see this being like a one-time kind of thing.
Yes.
Just to make themselves feel better.
In the
Yeah.
fall, there was announced a Train to Busan remake titled Last Train to New York.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
that's
this could be
fucking
a
stupid.
this could be a oh look what we did
Yeah, I was
10
gonna
years
say.
ago. We gave Parasite that award. That's our pat on the back.
It could be like
Yeah.
a publicity thing, more like, you know what I mean? Like show everybody, oh, look, we are serious, and then just forget about it for as long as possible until people call us out on it again, kind of thing.
Could be.
It just
But-
sucks because there's so many good movies like
I mean, this was a great movie.
all around the world.
No.
We have a lot more to say about the Oscars later in the month. I wanted to get you guys on early because I don't want to like make you be trying to get all those done and then also have to watch a different movie for this right before the end. So I'm glad we got this out of the way before March even
I have
starts.
to watch all those movies before the Oscar event.
Mm-hmm. You
Yeah.
do.
You
If you
do.
watch 2 a week, you'll make it.
That's 2 more. That's 8 more per month than I usually watch.
It's not too bad. Just think of like 4 hours a week.
Yeah,
It's not
that's
too
true.
bad.
Mm.
That's true.
Yeah. I think we're basically done at this point, so we can wrap up. And
All right.
I've been thinking of stare movies this whole time. Have you guys thought
What
of
do you
any
got?
stare movies? I only got one because I've been trying to do other things too. But
What's your one?
well, I don't want to give it away. That was my mistake the first time.
That's a good point. Okay. we'll
So
come
I've
back
got
to you.
2. You got anything?
Everything has stairs.
I got nothing.
Home Alone.
Joker. Joker has an iconic staircase.
Joker. Perfect. You
Yeah.
got one.
It's on the cover, I think.
It is. That's very
Poster.
iconic. You're good.
Wow.
You passed.
No stare movies here.
I'll go with The Exorcist.
Scarface.
Mm.
I feel like
Mm.
those.
Say
the
hello to
staircase-
my staircase.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
Who can forget that line?
I feel like those. It has an iconic staircase at least.
Yeah.
I got Titanic.
No stairs. That's a boat. It floats.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a one-floor boat.
My bad. My bad.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give away the stairs. We might do Titanic this month.
Really?
It's a Best Picture winner.
I mean, it's a historical event, and you've got to know there's a grand staircase.
I don't know. It's a spoiler. Spoilers. Jeez.
Spoiler what?
I don't know.
That
I'm,
moment-
I'm just
Picture of
getting a
the
little
boat.
There's a
happy.
whole scene
No,
where
we
they
can't
run
do
up
that
the
one.
stairs.
She's
You gave it
ruined it.
away.
That's
See,
it.
yeah, okay, so I guess we're not doing
Wait.
Titanic because you know there's a
Spoiler alert.
staircase.
This came out in 1997.
Are we gonna do Lord of the Rings at some point?
I just said there must be there.
feel like
There's
that's gotta
stairs
be-
when they're going through Moria.
Oh, I just meant
Some
like on
stairs,
the podcast,
right?
but yeah, there are stairs.
Yeah.
Right when they're going up to what was that? Elrog, the big creature
Balrog?
that cannot pass.
Yeah, yeah.
They're going up like really shitty stairs the whole time.
I was thinking of that too.
Lots of stairs. Dwarven stairs, specifically.
Yeah, and they like take a break on the staircase, and Gandalf tells Frodo, "You don't get to pick the time that you live in. You just have to make the most of the time you have," or something like that. And I cry every time.
I want to be on that episode.
Then he says, "Fly, you fools," and they don't fly. They can't fly. It's terrible advice.
That I don't know why that part always made me uncomfortable. And he's like, "Fly, you fools!" I was like, "Oh." He's like,
I haven't seen it. Don't spoil it.
"Oh shit, you're right."
It's fine.
I mean, yeah, that's literally.
I mean, in our defense, like that came out in 1997, Titanic. Those books came out in the 50s, so like,
I mean,
yeah, you've only had
50s and 60s,
70 years.
Yeah,
you've had 70 years, Greg.
Should have read these by now.
Thank you so much for being on, Greg, Ray, Cory. We talked about Parasite. We sold you some T-shirts, but in case you need to buy more, go on the TeePublic storefront. You can just Google Late to the Movies on TeePublic. You can follow us on Instagram at Late to the Movies _pod. That's 2 the number, not 2 spelled out. And also the same spelling for the Gmail account. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, complaints, criticisms, cajolings,
Big women,
favorite Stare movies,
Favorite Stare movies.
And yeah, so that's how you can get in contact with us. Write a review and send us a like. You can do that on Apple Podcasts. I think Podchaser you can give reviews on. All the other things, I think I didn't realize until just recently you can rate on Spotify. So go for that, I guess. And yeah, and that's where you can find us. So yeah, thanks so much for listening. We'll catch you next time. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
I said bye so many times.
Respect.
Why aren't these people leaving?